Bay Area moms would like to welcome Dr. Whitney Caceres, to talk to us about her new book, The Working Mom Blueprint. I have a copy right here. Winning at Parenting Without Losing Yourself. And specifically, I'm really interested in the idea of kind of reintegrating back from the pandemic. It seemed right when the pandemic hit, we were really reaching like a critical mass or a critical point on overscheduling our children, which means overscheduling ourselves and really being burnt out and not enjoying things. And so then things obviously came to, a screeching halt. And then now as things reopen and we start thinking about back to school and schedules, I'm really curious of some of your key tips or considerations so we can maybe not go from extreme to extreme, but slowly integrate and kind of maintain some of that family connection that I know a lot of us really built and will miss when things are back to normal.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you're absolutely right that the vast majority of moms that I met in my pediatrics clinic, I still practice pediatrics, and on Modern Mommy Doc, my online platform, just felt this inner stress and conflictedness and pulled in multiple directions, and almost like they were just out of control. Mm-hmm. Like life was happening to them with their kids and the activities and their work and things they had to do at home, as opposed to them deciding for themselves what will be the way that I live. And so I agree also that the pandemic, although I would never wish the pandemic on any future generations, did have this silver lining that came where we were forced to slow down. And of course, it was way too much of a slowdown, but it did allow us these moments, at least, of reconnection with our kids and of a little bit more stillness, which I think felt pretty uncomfortable for a lot of moms. But because we're used to this rapid pace of productivity, I mean, there's a lot of research around how anxiety begets anxiety, right? Stress begets stress. Being over-functioning begets over-functioning. And so we were doing that a ton as moms, and we all felt this impulse, I think, of like, the world expects us to do everything and we got to keep up. And if I don't have my kids in 10 soccer, a club for soccer and in the chess team and doing the piano lessons, then, oh my gosh, they're never going to go to college, And what was that doing to us? Honestly, it was making it so that we were missing the point of what parenting should be about. It was making it so that our kids were less likely to be resilient adults, and we were miserable. And so as we hopefully come out of this pandemic and we have a chance to kind of restart, it is really important for us to be conscious, to make a decision around how do we want to live our lives. And I know firsthand that is easier said than done, but there's a few things I think we can do that are practical and tangible and aren't just about philosophy. So the number one thing I think is decide what are the things that we most want to say yes to in our lives. At Modern Mommy Doc, we call that our centered vision for our lives. And that's like, if I look forward 5, 10, 50 years, what do I want to be the things that define me and my relationships and my work? So for example, for my work, I want the thing that defines me to be contribution, that I'm really making a difference. I don't want the paperwork of writing patient notes to be the thing that defined me, or the fact that I checked off like a bunch of things on a checklist for my kids. With my kids, I want it to be that I had connection with them and real relationship. I want it to be that I prepared them to be competent, to feel confidence, to have a sense of contribution to their friends and to their community. I want them to be problem solvers. So thinking about within each area of your life, what are the things that you really want to define it? And then finding some strategies to deal with all the rest of things in life that come at us that have to be taken care of in some way, form, or another, and then how to deal with those. So there's 4 major areas that I point to kind of around this centered circle. The first is kind of the non-negotiables. And those are the things that, only we can do, right? For example, in my house, we divide up tasks and responsibilities, my partner and I, my husband and laundry is one of the things that's on my list. And so laundry in my house, because it really shouldn't matter or take up as much brain space as it does, and I detest it, we do it only Wednesday through Thursday. It's like we wash and we dry, I wash and dry Wednesday through Thursday. And then on Thursday is the day I put things away. And if it's not away, then I literally stuff it in a closet for the next week. Because otherwise I'm thinking about it constantly, right? I'm thinking about it. The next is the swappables. What are the things someone else could be doing for you? If you have a partner, what are things that that person could be taking on that you're doing? If you have kids that are old enough, you want to give them the laundry task. What could the other people in your family be doing? And in the book, we actually talk about a whole chore list and responsibility list for kids that they could take on by age, starting in preschool. As pediatricians, we know that's so critical. And then the third is the contaminators. All the things that we say yes to out of guilt or obligation or feeling like if we don't say yes, then we're not a good worker or a good mom. So this is your kid's 8th extracurricular activity, or, saying yes to the social committee at your work, or to, you being the one that buys the birthday cake, for the other employees at your work as a working mom, right? And then the last is those heartstring things, the things that are you want to do them, seeing an elderly grandparent, making time to maybe mentor someone who's a little bit lower than you on the totem pole at work that you're not going to get anything out of, but man, you're going to feel kind of resentful if it's not a time and a space and a way that actually works for you. So it's really, first you have to know, what am I saying yes to? What matters to me? What are my priorities? And then you can put your full effort into those things and then have some selective mediocrity or some strategies around everything else.
That's great. Well, and I think a lot of moms would really appreciate the idea of those kind of buckets to put things in, and to think of it in that way. It would probably be a great strategy to really help, especially when moms are feeling super, super overwhelmed. And
the other way that I've heard Denise Hamilton, who is the founder of Watch Her Work, talk about this is the idea of glass balls and rubber balls.
Oh, yes.
Right? Some balls in your life are glass.
That's
and some are rubber. But if you're balancing and juggling all of them, the glass balls are going to fall. You got to let those rubber balls fall to the wayside, or put them in a bucket or in a closet.
Because if the glass balls fall, they break, and they're not as resilient. Well, I've done some workshops in my previous life on family life balance, and family work balance, I should say. And one of the things I always like to tell people is, it's not if you think of it like balance, that's unobtainable a lot of times. It's not, then you think of scales, and you think of justice, then you think of equality, it leads you down this path. But, sometimes things are going to be out of balance, and that's okay. And so I love that idea of the rubber balls and the glass balls, and the resiliency too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think even when we think about how much effort or energy or time should I put into my kids and how much to my work, even those things can't be always in perfect balance.
Right.
There are some times where I have a big launch happening or a big project happening. And I have to say to my partner, right now, you are the person that needs to invest the time and energy. I'm going to be really all in on this for the next week. And then I will be all in on them, or maybe for the next couple of hours, then I'll be all in on them, right? Yeah. And vice versa, where when my daughter during the pandemic, she had a horrible regression. She was, she's been potty trained for a long time. She's almost 8. She was peeing all over our carpets. She was attacking her sister verbally and physically. that was a moment where I had to say to my work, including Modern Mommy Doc, peace out. I'll be
That's
back.
right. Yeah.
Right now, my kid needs me.
That's
I
right.
have to attend to her, and she's literally the only thing I'm going to focus on. We'll do takeout. The house is going to be a mess. I'm going to take days off of work so that way I can really attend to her needs.
Yeah, that's so important to recognize. And I appreciate you sharing that too, because a lot of times, we do think everybody's got their life in order, or, someone who's writing about it, or a pediatrician, or, whatever. And that's just not the case. We're all humans. And it's good to hear that from, from other people.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, the work that I do and the framework that I have set up for the people that follow me and are part of my tribe is just that. It's a framework. It's a North Star. And it's not something that anyone, myself included, will do perfectly.
Right.
It's something to come back to say, when I feel really overwhelmed, okay, hold on, let me pause. Let me think about what I really want. Of course I get stressed. Of course things get chaotic. 2 weeks ago, my husband and I were sobbing on the kitchen floor because my family can't handle doing a simple camping trip, really feeling this loss about the idea that we're not normal and everybody else has it all together. And I had my cry it out fest. And, we looked into each other's eyes and said, please, Lord, make me a bird and let me fly far, far away.
Yeah.
And then we took a pause and remembered, okay, maybe what we can do to feel connected with our kids isn't this other thing other people could do, but man, I can lie in a hammock in our backyard and look at the stars with them. And so everybody has their own journey. Nobody's perfect on this. The framework of what I talked about is important. The other thing that has really helped me to not get down on myself, to continue moving forward versus being that really mean, critical coach, is developing a practice of taking care of myself and coming back to myself and mindful self-compassion, which is that idea of being a really good, positive inner coach, which allows me then to, instead of whipping myself into shape, to clap for myself on the sidelines and from within.
That's great. That's great. Well, now I have a question too, because I'm from the other spectrum. I have a 14 and 16-year-old. And when they were little, we tried lots of things. We tried dance, art classes, soccer, and they tried it and they gave it, their all, but now they're not doers. So this, for me personally, isn't something I have to wrestle with, is, scheduling and that, because they're homebodies. But then on the other hand, I really wrestle with, well, where have I failed? They're not wanting to try to be honest in a sport or in a club, or do you have any advice for that? I mean, I guess maybe it's some of the same stuff though, too.
Yeah, I think it really is. And actually, it's funny. I have one kid who is 100% a doer and wants to do all the activities, and one who is not at all. So I feel that struggle too. Yeah. I think the biggest thing from my pediatrician hat on for kids in this regard is, even if kids are not club sports, tons of activities types of people, they still need something that is a passion that's theirs, that they can build competence. So a lot of times the more introverted kids are really into art, or they really like music, or they want to learn every single thing they can about the polar bears and how to help them be not extinct. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. It's just that they have something that they can kind of dive into and become really good at, or at least be invested in terms of their passion. And then I think the other part is moving along with your kids when those changes come, because I think a lot of times kids who maybe aren't they haven't been pushed to be on the soccer team or to be part of the chess thing, that they're going to be like, oh, I don't really know what I want, so let me go to this and that and this. And I've had to put aside for myself, there are some things that my kids get really into that I'm into too. So then I'm like, oh, sweet. Yes, let's do it, And then they get into something else and I'm not as into it. So then maybe I'm not investing as much energy. And so I had to push myself to say, this is their thing.
Right.
Let them run with it. Even if you don't like how that even if you don't like how that looks in your house or whatever, who cares? Really, just like be all in with them on their own interest, as opposed to the thing that makes you either feel good or look good.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I struggle too, because I was always a doer and a joiner and, was in everything, in school and they're not. And then I worry too, like you had mentioned when we first started, like college and, looking on a resume and different things. And I think the pandemic too has really shown us, college might not be for every kid either. And just, I think it was really eye-opening. So
yeah.
yeah.
Dr. Ken Ginsberg, he's an author with the American Academy of Pediatrics and a speaker. And if you all have not heard his work or seen him speak, just look it up like on Google and watch any videos that are on him. He's amazing. And he talks about this idea of what we're trying to do as parents is actually to make our kids the 35-year-olds we hope they'll be. Not the college entrance admissions kid we hope they'll be, right? We want our kids to be the type of people that are able to get a good second job. Because, your first job is all based off what you can put on your resume and maybe what classes that you aced. It's not about your character. Your second job is you have to have some references from somebody. It's about how hard you worked. It's about the effort that you put in. And so he's all about kind of really flipping the script and making it so parents are less about grades and accomplishment. And, I went to Rwanda on a 10-month expedition to look good, right?
Right.
It's more about actually investing in our kids and in ourselves in humanity. I had a medical school hopeful who asked me for a bit of my time, and I spent half an hour with her just mentoring her on things I did to get to medical school. And she goes, she's going to go into her freshman year of college this year. And she goes, what types of activities should I do? What should I be a part of? What are the different things? And I said, honestly, you should go be a human. Like, what do you like doing? She goes, well, I like, singing. I go, great. Do that.
Yeah.
And do the thing that brings you joy, do the thing that brings you passion, because in life, even as moms, when we do things that make us feel alive, when we do things that help us remember who we are inside of us, the really great parts of us, which for me is like riding on a spin bike in the dark to Justin Bieber, blaring as loud as possible. I'm like 19-year-old Whitney, just jamming on the bike. I come home with so much more energy. I come home with so much more space, so that when my kids are having a hard day, I can respond to them versus react. When my husband doesn't do things exactly the way I like it, I can approach him with some, compassionate assertiveness versus I have, the wherewithal to make actually really responsive decisions when it comes to the people that work with me on my team at Modern Mommy Doc or with my patients. When I'm at my edge and I haven't done anything that's about bringing joy to my soul, for lack of a less woo-woo term, I'm pretty miserable, and I make everybody else around me miserable too. So that's what I would say for kids. It's find something that brings them joy, that makes them really feel like they're alive. And then same for moms.
Yeah, that's great. What advice would you have for parents, or how can we best advocate for this? If we go through this exercise, or we think about what centers us and, what our non-negotiables and stuff are, then how do we, as parents, advocate for that? Or how can we, have those uncomfortable conversations and say no? What advice do you have for that?
So again, I think that really comes back to when we say no to something, what are we saying yes to? So it's a lot easier for me to say, no, I will not be on the party planning committee at work, because actually my gift and talent is in the executive leadership board at work, where I can actually influence there being paid parental leave. for other people,
Nice.
or I can influence there being pumping spaces for employees, right? Or I can even just do a better job with my patients if I'm not at lunch trying to do this other thing that is meaningless to me, right? Similar to activities, I think if I am thinking about, I'm going to say no to running around all day, it's because I want to say yes to peace and calm in my house. It's because I want to say yes to less arguments between my kids. It's because I want to say yes to actually being able to have the time to create a wholesome meal for my kids versus like get really like unhealthy takeout stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always thinking about what is the yes. And I think when you have conversations with people that you are sharing with them the value or the goal that you are trying to accomplish. So at work, if I say, I really want to make sure that I am present and intentional with my parents that I'm working with the kids. And I really want to be able to listen.
Yeah.
And I know that if I have 5 meetings in addition to seeing my patients today, I'm just not going to do a good job with that. That's a lot easier to hear for my employer than if I say, I really don't want to be part of that committee. I just don't have time for that. Like, because they also have a shared value. If I say to my partner, I really want to be calm with our kids and I don't want to yell at them. I want to make sure that when I talk to them, I want to be firm, but loving. I want to toe that line. And that's so difficult for me to do. But I think that if I had this time in the morning for me to go take this hour to do this thing that really filled me up, I would do better with that all day long. Actually, I've seen that last week when I did that, I was able to come back and be in such a better place with them. That's a lot easier for my partner to swallow than for me to say, I need this. So you're going to have to watch the kids.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing with partners is this idea of trading items of value. Jancy Dunn talks about this in her book, How Not to Hate Your Husband After Kids, which is also an excellent book.
Love it.
And it's a salacious title. She told me when I interviewed her on my podcast, she told me, I wish there could have been like a fake cover where it could have that on there. Then the inside would be how to have an equitable partnership with your male partner, right?
Right.
But she talks about this idea of sharing with your partner and trading. So just like in a business arrangement, that I would say to my partner, listen, this is the thing that I need in order to be whole and well and present. What's something you need?
Right.
Okay, how do we make space for both of those things so we can both show up as the best version of ourselves that we can be? We're never going to be perfect when we show up, but man, it'll give us a fighting chance.
Yeah.
When we're with our kids or with each other. And that really is powerful. You're not then asking for something that's like a favor.
Right.
You're literally working together as a team to decide how do we be the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and that models so well for your children, not only healthy relationships for them later down the line with a partner, but in work and school and friendships. And I would imagine too, some of those conversations you said you had with maybe your coworkers or with your partner, and you can have those with your children too. I mean, to kind of, I don't want to say to justify, but to, this is why we're doing this, or.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are times when I'm at my edge with my kids where I will narrate for them and say, I am feeling really stressed right now. I am feeling very frustrated and I don't want to do or say anything that will hurt anyone. So I'm taking a break. I will be back. And like close the door, like take a break. And my kids are, their eyes are like, I see them doing that same thing with their friends. They get frustrated and they go, I need a break right now. I think I need to take some breaths right now. So absolutely, it's about modeling. And I want to say too, because I'm sure there are lots of families out there that don't have a male partner or they're a single parent or whatever. I think this applies to you too. We all have people in our parenting village
Yeah.
that we can lean on, that we can trade items of value with, either friends or with family members. Like I said, for sure, when you have older kids saying, this is something I'm going to do, if you can help me out with this. So it's not unique to that relationship. And then the other thing that I want to bring up is I always get a lot of feedback on this point. So I always like to address it, is that a lot of people say like, well, why should it be that working moms or moms in general are the ones that should also carry on the task of having these heavy conversations, of saying, this is what I need, of creating a list of tasks and responsibilities to divide. And to that, I say 100%. I wish that I lived in 2080 and that hopefully we're more evolved at that point. We don't have to have these conversations. I know in my household, my husband's not thinking about this at the same level that I am at this moment, because I'm the one that is at the disadvantage, to be perfectly honest, because I'm the one that carries the mental load. So if I want to move it forward, I have to be the one that has the conversation. And same at my work. There are tons of organizations that I am a part of and believe in that have culture change and policy change. It's kind of a very, very frustrating yes and situation on all those fronts.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it. That's an excellent point, is, well, and I think men, female, male brains just, they work a little differently and they're wired differently. And it, yeah, I think if you reframe how you think about that, and that it's just an important part of the process, and embrace it. And it's okay that, that maybe you do that. And, but if it helps keep your sanity in the organization, or, helps you achieve that, that ability to slow down, then, that's okay. It's okay to take charge sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And, if it's happening over and over and over again, I mean, gosh, my husband and I have been to like couples counseling for like years, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that other person now holds us accountable, which is great. Now there's a third party that's like kind of like checking in with both of us, like, I see you over functioning, Whitney. I see you like not stepping up. So I just put it on somebody else.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And well, and that's important too in all of this, that, not everybody has the means or the ability, to maybe go to couples therapy, or to bring in a housekeeper, but if you can, you should examine that. Or if you have, I don't know, like trading that you can do, like, if you have a friend who, whose strength is something else, maybe there's some bartering or trading there that you could do just to help everybody out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's a great point that we should absolutely address, because this is not just for like the rich and privileged. This is something that actually applies to every single human being, of needing to take time for yourself and to show up for yourself. And so the time that I'm talking about for self-care, for introspection, is not about an expensive exercise class. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a walk around the block. It can be you cuddled up on the couch reading a book. It could be you like having a Coke with a friend. Like, it does not have to be spendy. And in terms of the idea of outsourcing, I 100% agree. There are some things that for some families it works to outsource.
Yep.
When I think about outsourcing, I always think about that as a trade-off and benefit. I don't have $1 billion. So if I outsource house cleaning, that means that, we eat like pasta and sauce for the week. There have definitely been times that I say, I would rather have really pretty minimal food, choices in order to have that, because that means the most to me. I'd rather not buy clothes, not go on vacations, and have like pretty minimal meals to afford that. Right. And there have definitely been times that I could not afford that at all. And so those are times that I have leaned on my partner, or minimized the amount of stuff in my house.
Right.
So that there's less to clean. Or decided when my kids were babies, like, I really don't care. There's more to life than cleaning up the dust on my shelves.
That's right. That's right. Oh, what a great conversation. And I hope parents really do put the time in and think about it, as they're actually, I just today got an email to, register my kids for school for August. And so it's like, it's starting, so just to go ahead and think about it and to prepare and to, use the pandemic as an excuse, we can get something from it that we can, we reevaluated our priorities or whatever it is. But you don't owe anybody an explanation, any of those peripheral kinds of people. So your values are
absolutely. Yeah, your values are your values. And here's the deal. We cannot control the chaos that comes our way. Most of the chaos. Look at this year with the pandemic. My life with my kiddo definitely has taught me that I cannot control other people and what they do. I can control how I respond though. And at the end of the day, I am responsible for the way that I interact with other people, the way that I show up in my relationship with my kids. And so I want to set myself up for as much success as possible so that 9 times out of 10, I actually get to the time when it's time to lay my head down on the bed and I feel relatively satisfied with the day,
Yes.
There's going to be some days that are complete messes, and those are chances for reevaluation and to see what can I change moving forward. But it's not about having money. It's not about having means. It's not about things being perfect in your life on the outside to make this work. It's really just about, okay, this is a situation I'm in. Now what? What are the things that I can actually be responsible for?
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Doctor. I really appreciate your time.